aren't better than anyone. You aren't that special. I was watching some YouTube videos the other day about some woman that was being questioned about what it would take for her to go on a date. Not that I go on dates or anything, but internet stuff. I was watching it, and she said that you need at least $200 to date her. 200, and I was thinking, bruh, people these days, they have such a crazy mindset. Not everybody, but it depends. Like some people, and I think we all have a little bit of it. But I want to go more in depth. I want to call it main character syndrome. I don't care if you're some gifted kid, you went to a nice family that was like around middle class that allowed you to be able to study some medicine in Poland. Wait. So people nowadays have a certain feeling or reason that they feel like they have the right to think that they're above people. They think that the world revolves around them. There are some people just like that, and I want to touch on it. And those reasons, the core reasons why they actually believe that, are usually some such little, minute, such minuscule things that barely differentiate them from other people. And it's just some specific superficial accomplishment or perception that they have about themselves that they don't see in other people. Basically, they lack sonder. Sonder is basically the realization that everybody, everywhere, has their own perspective on life and things like that. They're living their own individual complex lives with social, psychological, mental, physical, challenges, and they're human. Basically, they're human. Like, I don't know what to say. They're human. Some people don't see other people as their, I don't want to say equal, but as equally human, if that makes sense. We all have the same problems, hopes, dreams. Like, if you have a problem, you can easily search it up. And there's probably been someone online or even just in life, you can find a book or something that had the same problem that you could just understand, learn from, and basically have a shortcut to finding the solution. Even though we do have our own more minute problems are more specific to us, but generally the actual roots or the framework of the problem is generally the same. And the advice that could be used is generally universal. The main difference between success and failure is usually one of them has an actual plan, like a proper actionable goal that they can commit to and that's realistic to their lives and the way that they actually move. It's not something that's out of reach that they know that they won't do, but they're just going to write it down anyway. And they don't even think about it after writing it down. They just leave it. And people with main character syndrome, I would say that they are better at actually doing their goals, though. This is why main character syndrome kind of helps you, because when you actually have main character syndrome, you're more like, I gotta do this. It's all about me. I know I can do this. It's like there's a sense of ego there generally that helps you, just motivates you more. So that's why you should deviate away from main character syndrome, but you should use a little bit of the ego from it so you can learn something from main character syndrome, that use some of the ego to influence your own life and just push forward. Even though we are similar and we have the same problems generally, but you are living your life. You are the master of your own life. The only thing you can really change definitely is your own actions in the way that you move, the way that you act, speak, articulate yourself, the way that you decide to, things you decide to do, the way you decide to act around people. Only you have the power to change that. And that's where main character syndrome really kind of helps people, actually, is that they can I would say that depending on the person, they could be more likely to switch in or out of, being open-minded to switching their personality and things like that. But generally speaking, the ego from main character syndrome is beneficial. That helps you just accomplish things in life. And you aren't better than anybody just because you have specific viewpoints like religion. Just people see each other as lower or higher, but we're kind of biased to our own understanding of our own morality, even though there is objective morality. But the way you come about it is not definite, and everybody thinks that they have it, kind of. That's another. Or even political party. Both sides usually think they're right. That's the thing about life right now, is that social media allows for such a high polarity with groups of people, that there's so many groups of people, but if there's another side that's way easier to distinguish, like Democratic or Republican, if there's something you don't agree with on the other side, then you're more likely to assume that the other side is bad. Main character syndrome can make this very bad for your communication with others and just cutting people off because you're like, I'm right. It doesn't matter what you think. If you deviate from what I think, you're wrong. Sometimes they change, but very rarely, because people are pretty ignorant. It's easy to be ignorant. We always think we're right. Not always, but I know. The thing is, the world is so big, and it's ignorant, really. It's just ignorant to think that you're better than everybody. So just because you have money or you have bread, you have, manians, doesn't mean you're better than me. Doesn't mean you are more important. Though it does mean that you have more currency that's important to humans. It has some uses. It can be used towards good, but you having more money doesn't make you better. It doesn't make you a better person. But if you lose that money, are you now useless? No, exactly. It's more about the person that you are with the money. People say that money is an amplifier of who you are, what you are with or without the money. Money just amplifies basically. If you're a nerd, if you're a nerd, if you're a nerd, then and you have money, then you're just gonna be amplified with money. If you think you're the main character and you have certain characteristics that people know, like you can just tell when someone thinks that they're better than you, the main character, and they are negligent of others around them, then with money, they're gonna be even more arrogant, usually more egotistical, usually less giving, And when it comes to their representation or presenting themselves to others, like in stories or other things, they're generally way more biased than regular people. People with main character syndrome, they see that they were in the right in that story, in that context. They remove the objective perspective that maybe they're wrong, or when something happened that it wasn't for them, it wasn't about them, but they have to make it about them, the way that they speak. You've probably met people like that. That's people with main character syndrome. And yes, we all have our own perspective in certain situations, but every situation isn't about you. You got to be open that other people are sometimes the one that are more important, And you don't have to, as people with main character syndrome, you don't have to hide some aspects of yourself. Like, you can be funny. You don't have to think that, that you got to have a perfect image or that people are always judging you, because even though they are, doesn't mean you can't. You have to be shallow-minded. Just be honest. Tell me what really happened. Just like a regular person. I know even people who don't have main character syndrome, people usually lie, or in the moment things could happen that they lose track of what actually happened, and maybe adrenaline influenced them, or just their emotions in that state, or whatever happened, because people feel things. People aren't always 100% attentiveness, and they're not always able to recollect situations perfectly, but it's something to think about, because you don't want to be that person that just makes it all about them and just misconstrues the whole story that someone right next to you said something that's completely different, or everybody else next to you said something completely different. And I'm not saying that you need to be lazy, or that you need to underestimate yourself or dumb yourself down or beat yourself up or make yourself seem less than you are in front of other people. I'm saying that you need to be more honest and see things for what they are, see the reality. I could have done an opposite, where people are kind of depressed, or in a depressive state, or they, those shy people, the way that they kind of make themselves lesser than others, and they sometimes genuinely believe it. Sometimes it's not just a front, but that's a secondary thing. Same with main character syndrome. People, they genuinely believe it, but that's I could talk about the other side, but it's a different kind of topic. Utilize ego to push yourself to do things in life. You can use it to influence yourself and other people around you to do better. Do it positively, do it open-mindedly, and help them understand and see things from your own perspective. You can, of course. Also, you can use this energy to be more aware in yourself. And if you want to be critical about yourself and you think you have main character syndrome or some of the symptoms, you might want to sit back and just think about why you might be experiencing this, or even acting like this, or where it's stemming from. If you actually have it, just take a couple seconds, just to think. And when interacting with people with main character syndrome, I would recommend acting with a little bit of stoicism. Don't feed into their delirium. Just, be honest and be straightforward with them with things that happen. You don't have to explicitly say, but just be regular with them. But also pay attention that they may be being a bit more biased and things like that. My role model is the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. I'm a Muslim, by the way. And he, every day when I think of something like how I should act or something like that, I look towards him to see what he does with his life and how he moves and what I should do in the situation when things get like a bit tricky. But of course, there's some nuanced things I can't do. So just find someone that you believe is a good role model, grounded in reality. They have their head also, a good head on their shoulders. And be yourself. If you're using the main character syndrome to make up for something that you feel like you lack, or you're just trying to appear like something for one reason or the other, just be yourself at the end of the day. Like, people can see through those facades. It's very easy. Even if it, like, at the beginning might be small, but eventually you can see the type of person somebody is just by the way that they speak. You just let someone speak, you can hear, you know what they're talking, you know what they're like, you know what they're about. Just like you're watching the video, you know what I'm like, kind of. I mean, there's still things you don't know, of course. It takes time, but yeah. And even the prophet, even though he had the best character in my opinion, he didn't put himself above people. So there's no reason why you should. Like, who are you to do such a thing? Even though you should be yourself, sometimes being yourself isn't enough. You know, every day though, you should try and be better. You know, little bit by bit. Not 1%. That's illogical, but just a little bit, and try and prove something. Because we all know that there's something on our mind in the back of our head that we know we could improve. Because every day there's something that we can do, something that we need to do. The funny thing is that the more we do, the more there is to do. Trying to be a better version of yourself is ultimately a battle between yourself, and you're fighting to evolve. And trust me, it's tough. It is not going to be easy. It is not easy. I'm going to be honest, it's not easy. But it's worth it. Just so you got money, racks, or money, or bread doesn't mean you're better than anyone else. You think that you know where you're trying to go, what you like, because you got the bread. You think you're better than me. You think that you're better than me. No. Anyway,